You were talking about the Eagles, and I find them to be an interesting case study because they are paying their quarterback a ton of money. They are paying A.J. Brown and Devontae. They are paying a running back free agent money. They look really sexy on paper. There's no doubt about it. They've lost some expensive players due to retirement. They traded away Hassan Reddick. They decided not to pay him. So they've moved around some of their finances. And they're a very well-run team. I think everyone would agree. Even though they had a down year last year.
Howie Roseman's exceptional.
They swing big.
Yeah, they swing big.
And I respect them. The one thing that I look at when it comes to their personnel, and it's the number one question for them, can Sirianni get the most out of that talent?
Well, they advanced to a Super Bowl. They took a step back last year.
No Shane Steichen.
We'll see how he reloads. Who did he hire? He hired Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is an OC. Who's his DC? He hired somebody. He hired a big boy in DC as well.
Vic Fangio left the Miami Dolphins and went there. I believe.
He went there. Did he go to Philly? So there you go. Their coaching has gotten better. And you know what? Give credit to Sirianni for recognizing who he is.
Well, that was
I don't like him.
Keep his job.
Yeah. I mean, but still, though, he was like, "Look, I need help. I know I need to keep this job," which is crazy to think that they would have fired him after 3. He's been to the playoffs, and every year he's coached.
Right, well,
nobody expected him to go to the playoffs in 2021. Year, yes. Nobody expected that. Then they explode and go to the Super Bowl, and I get it. You start 10-1, the Niners expose you take a step back. But that just shows how, when it comes to the word patience and irrational, as much as I don't like Sirianni, I think it would have been a little irrational to fire him after going to the playoffs for 3 straight years.
Belichick was available. So, I mean,
if they wanted Belichick, they would have got Belichick.
I agree with that. But my point is, the bigger point is that I just don't think Sirianni is some X's and O's genius. Just in general, I don't. So I think the Kellen Moore hire is extremely important. I do think Kyle Shanahan is an X's and O's genius. And that's the differentiator for me when I'm looking at
genius?
X's and O's, yes. Now, we can quibble about roster politics and stubbornness and situational play calling, things like that.
Andy Reid's a genius. Shanahan's very good.
Okay. All right.
And I'm not giving you the genius title till you win a ring.
All right. That's genius might be strong. Fine.
Yeah, but I'm nitpicking here on the word. But when you say genius,
it might be strong.
I think, wow.
Relative to his peers, he's on a short list. I mean, you're looking at McVay, him, Andy Reid's clearly the cream of the top. Okay, fine. But I look at him as someone who I'm paying him probably close to $20 million a year because I think he can figure out how to reload on offense. I'm not paying him for the defense, right? Even though I know the defense is his baby, and I'm looking at offense. He found George Kittle. He found Deebo Samuel. He found Brandon Aiyuk. None of those guys were top of the charts guys heading into a draft. None of them. Now, Brandon Aiyuk was the highest of all those draft picks, and he's done a great job with
him. But Deebo exploded during the draft process.
Sure.
During the draft process after the Senior Bowl, Deebo Samuel was a hot commodity. A lot of people were talking about Deebo Samuel. I remember doing a lot of shows with the voice of the 49ers. Yeah, little second round. There's nothing. Hey, if you're a top 60 pick in the NFL, that's pretty damn good.
Oh, no,
you know what I'm saying? That's pretty damn good. But he had the injury concerns, too. He missed a lot of time in South Carolina.
And he was a senior as opposed to a junior. Right. There's a lot of reasons.
I mean, he missed one entire season with, I think, an Achilles injury the other year. He's had a lot of wear and tear.
So where I'm going at with this is that I believe in Kyle Shanahan to find the next guy. I just do. And I believe in Brock Purdy to kind of figure it out and make it work. It would be devastating for a young quarterback who's only in his 3rd year to lose his number 1 target. But
it just seems crazy. That seems crazy.
But Monty, you have to play out the money.
No, I hear the money. I hear the money.
But they're just up against it.
I know. I hear you on the money. And you get so caught up in the money. You get caught up in the money so much. You don't have to pay Purdy until next season. You can move off of Deebo next season. You can maybe move off of Hargrave next season. Why are we so quick to punt on Aiyuk, bring in the project, and then try to win a Super Bowl this season without Brandon Aiyuk, who's one of the 10 best wide receivers in all of football, and he proved to everybody out here that he can be a number 1 wide receiver.
Because you don't want to lose a guy for nothing. So Deebo Samuel is a guy because of their situation in your hypothetical, then you're losing him for nothing. Right now you lost Eric Armstead with a ton of dead cap for nothing.
So let me ask you this.
It's not a great financial
But nobody
move.
cares about Armstead.
No, I know, but I'm saying I can get something back for Aiyuk.
So Stephon Diggs, what did he go for? with Buffalo? 5th-round pick? 4th-round pick?
Initially, Buffalo traded a first-rounder for him. But then they traded, like a 5th-round pick, yes.
For him.
But you had to pay him a lot of money, and he only had 1 year left.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And he's on his 3rd contract. Ayuk's going up on his 2nd.
I think we really sleep on Aiyuk and how special he is. And I think trading him, I understand what you're trying to say, Shasky, with the finances. Trust me, I'm into the cap. I got Spell Track as a bookmark. I love the salary cap and the finances and everything like that. But damn it, I am against giving up premium players. I'm keeping all my premium players. I will find a way to keep Aiyuk and try to move off somewhere else and get cheap somewhere else. I have a hard time, man. I have a hard time trading a guy like Brandon Aiyuk. The guy's a special route runner. The guy makes catches. Boom, first game of the season, 8 catches, 8 targets. You're like, okay, this guy's ready to roll. And he has been the most consistent wide receiver. The most consistent wide receiver the 49ers have had since when? T.O.? Bolden?
Probably Bolden.
Bolden
had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
For those 2 years, but with these 2 back-to-back seasons, to me, is even more impressive considering the way they run their offense.
Vontae, I want to keep the guy. It's just, I'm telling you, they've got money coming down the books here, coming down the pipe. They're going to have to figure their stuff out. And the way I'm viewing it is this is the year to load up in the draft to get cheaper around Brock Purdy so that you are ready once he hits his big payday. You've got some infrastructure in place and some draft capital. I kept watching that Super Bowl back, and the Niners were extremely top-heavy. They needed to reload via the draft, and this is the time to do it.
But they have 10 picks. You can still reload while giving Aiyuk his money, right?
But I'm viewing it this way. Like, I want to be able to have all those 2nd-rounders and all those 3rd-rounders. To me, you can control the middle of the draft, and you can get a lot of starters out of that. You can get outside linebackers. You can get some secondary players. They clearly need multiple offensive linemen. They're going to need playmakers at some point. They still, like to your point, they need a D tackle. I keep glossing over that. They probably need another outside linebacker, D-end, however you determine that position. Again, Aiyuk brings a lot to the table. I want Brandon Aiyuk. It just feels like one of these guys is going to be the odd man out. In an ideal world, it would be Debo. But because of the money attached to Debo, I feel like they're going to lean Aiyuk.
But if you wait till next year, Debo's dead cap number is a lot lower than it is this year.
Yeah.
It
is.
It's slashed by $27 million. The dead cap this year is $42.7. It's $15 next year. Kittle is getting older. It's $15 next year, dead cap hit. And so with Brett, I don't want to ruin Brock Purdy. I need to surround him with as many weapons as possible. Brock Purdy, that is. Taking away a weapon in his 3rd year, his number 1 guy, I don't know. Let's go up to Vacaville. Let's go talk to Javier in Vacaville. Javier, good morning to you.
Hello, Mr. Shafsky and Mr. Hill. First thing, I mentioned 4 years ago, almost to the date, about the Kinlaw prediction, and you were kind of on that last week.
Wait, time out, Javier. I was right about Kinlaw, and you were wrong.
No. You're speaking false narrative. I said I predicted the pick. I didn't say about I liked one. I predicted the pick. You got and I have the audio recording, so you can laugh and smirk.
Oh, I'm laughing, dog.
You can laugh because you don't sound like you have any sense of what you're talking about right now. The Niners went up $31.4 million from the salary cap from 2023 to 2024. They had $38 million in dead cap, from cap that transferred from 2023 to 2024. The Niners at the projection was going to be $250 million for the cap, which only had the 49ers at 3.3 over the cap. But it actually went up $5 more million than it was originally projected. So the Niners were actually what? They're under the cap. The 11 draft picks, now 10 draft picks they have, are going to cost, ironically, twice what the Niners were over the cap at 3.3 at 6.6. So this whole, the Niners are going to be over the cap. You don't even know. You have to do the homework first, dog. The Niners have Brandon Aiyuk.
Flush this idiot. I'm so sick of Javier. God. Banish him to Alcatraz. He's never allowed to call back again. Ever. God.
That's it.
Then why did they keep Armstead? If they're in a holy matrimony of finances, why didn't they keep Armstead?
Javier was flushed. Brought to you by Flowing Water Plumbing and Trade.
Lucky us.
Jesus.
Flowing Water Plumbing and Trade. If you're going to call it to the roast, you better bring it.
The guy tried to do a walk-off on Kinlaw. I mean, get out of here.
Brought to you by Flowing Water.
Yeah, that's pretty lame.
And Drame. Look at man. Listen.
And then he starts spouting 44.
Well, listen. I get what he was saying. I wish the caller would have went a little longer. I actually don't think that was the worst of Javier. I thought he was doing no, seriously. I don't think that was the worst of Javier. He was talking numbers, and I just wanted him to get to his point. That's all. Sometimes it takes Javier it takes him a while to get to his point. But I felt like we were getting close to his point. Now, Lutman, if you want to take the call, because it may be Javier calling back, just ask him what his point is, and maybe you could relay that to us. Maybe you can relay what his point was, because I would love to hear his point.
I don't think Sam would want to do that. He's not going to give him his point, first of all. He's just going to be mad.
All right, whatever. 888-957-9570. Where are Niner fans at with trading Brandon Aiyuk because of the money and the financials? We're going to talk to Rob, Stats on Fire at 920. He's all things 49ers. We'll ask him his opinion. Javier, man.
It's the body of work for me. It's the 3 years of calling in and just never, ever nailing a point, ever.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
What are we doing?
What are we doing, man? We're talking about what to do with Brandon Aiyuk. And what I want to do with Brandon Aiyuk is keep him with the 49ers as long as possible.
Do you think
I feel like he's underrated. I feel like we underrate him in this business. I would agree. Especially really around here.
But would you meet me here? Like it feels like to me, he's probably not going to be ready to play if he doesn't get a new deal, right?
Well, yeah, he will probably hold out.
Yeah, right? Like
Will he hold in like Debo?
I don't know. That didn't really do much for Debo. And I view them different. Ayuk's always been physically in peak performance. It feels like when I go to training camp, he is by far and away one of the best players on the field. Yeah. Like year after year after year. He dominates in the training camp. Like he's been outstanding. So I don't worry about him and his conditioning and all that stuff. But like if ever there was a year to figure out the money and get them all locked in and ready to go, it'd be now so that Brock and him could work all offseason together.
Oh, okay, James. Javier says, long story short, 10 minutes into telling his story. Did I say Javier Stats on Fire? Did I say that? Did I say Javier Stats on Fire? Oh, my God. I'm rattled. Look, here's meet me here, though. Meet me here, because I hear everything you're saying. I want you to meet me a little bit sometimes, man, because it's always got to meet you in the middle. How about you meet me here? You don't have any concern. I know how many picks the Niners have. They have 10 picks. They did hit on Debo and Aiyuk. But how many misses have they had? Massive misses that have put them in the spot today. Like, do you really trust them without Adam Peters now in Washington? You got John Lynch in the room with Kyle Shanahan. Do you fully trust them to make the right picks if you move off of Brandon Aiyuk? Do you really trust him to take the right receiver? Like, that's the other thing that we're not talking about. The draft is coming up.
Of course you can whiff.
You guys brought up Javon Kinlaw. That was a miss.
Ponte, they had the biggest whiff in the history of the 49ers. Trey Lance. Like, this regime, the biggest whiff in the history of the 49ers. And ironically, they found a way to pivot, not panic, and they found Brock Purdy. So, of course, there's a massive risk. There's a massive risk. I mean, Jalen Reagor. You could draft a Jalen Reagor.
Oh my gosh!
Right? You could draft a Jalen Reagor, and then you'll be forced to have to trade for an AJ Brown and overpay. This is the same organization that took Solomon Thomas, same regime that took Reuben Foster. Like, they've done this before at other positions where they've doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. I feel like the Javon Hargrave is a double down from missing on Kinlaw, exactly. Which is a double down from
missing on Solomon Thomas.
Exactly.
You're missing on all these guys.
So. Like, yes, there's a massive risk. It's football. It's pro sports. Teams miss all the time.
But with this regime, when you finally get a player that pops, in Brandon Aiyuk, and he turns into, last year, again, I will read the numbers again, and we all watch the games. We all watch the games.
I know.
Watch 49er
He's
football.
Awesome. He's a really good player.
We all watch 49er football. So, like, I'm not into, when you come to all these draft misses, and you're still making up for the Solomon Thomas pick, which this regime made happen. Yeah. The Reuben Foster pick, which this regime made happen. The Jerick McKinnon free agent signing, to where you got to pivot and you play with Elijah and you play with all these guys. And you know what? We need a running back. Let's go trade for McCaffrey. Like, I got to keep the proven players, man. I got to keep the proven players. He's number 1 in targets. He's number 1 in receptions. He's number 1 in receiving yards. He's number 2 in the league in freaking average yards per catch. Come on, man. I can't. The more I think about this, the more I think it's just crazy. And it's been the talk of the offseason. Thank God we had the Warriors kind of distract us here. But every day I look at something. I'm saying, we really want to trade Brock Purdy's top target?
I don't think they want to. I just think that,
why does that make sense?
They're up against it. Because they gave Deebo Samuel a lot of money, and I think it kind of they kind of screwed up some of their stuff.
You could get creative, pay Aiyuk this year with the guarantees, and stagger some of the base.
But Bonte, when they had Deebo Samuel, when they paid Deebo Samuel, I think that they believed they had their quarterback on a cost controlled. He would have made $20 million in the 5th-year option. That would be Trey Lance. And now you got a quarterback who's going to hit significantly harder.
But then that quarterback, who pairs better with that quarterback long term?
Oh,
Aiyuk or Deebo?
There's not a question. It's Aiyuk.
So let me keep Aiyuk this year. We'll work something out, and we can get creative and move it off of Deebo next year. If that's the case.
Look,
that's the case.
I would love for them to pay him, and I think that there is a way and a path for them to probably be able to pay him this year. There probably is a path, but they've got some reasoning behind it, and they also have to look at themselves and say,
have they come out and said that?
No.
John Lynch has come out and said, if you find John Lynch Spinoni from recently, say we got to keep Aiyuk. We have to keep Aiyuk.
The messaging felt a lot different than the Nick Bosa thing. Like, Nick Bosa was very certain. It was very certain that they were going to keep him.
Obviously, that wasn't certain.
But even then, like, you and I had the same conversation with Bosa, and I was one of the few. I was like, I might entertain just like seeing what I can get. I would love to have him. I want to keep him. But part of being a GM and a businessman is the phones are always open. I want to keep great players.
Yeah.
There's like 2 players in the league who I'm not answering the phone call for. It's Patrick Mahomes and it's Josh Allen. That's for me. Everybody else, I'll listen.
CJ Stroud?
I need to see another year. And I love CJ Stroud, but come on, I need to see another year. Like, if I'm going to do that to Brock Purdy, I'm going to do the same thing to CJ Stroud. I got to see another year.
Well, we can't. Yeah, I'm not with trading Brock Purdy. At the end of the day, I just the financials, everything that we're talking about, everything that we're laying out.
I would love to keep
stagger this stuff. We can stagger this stuff. I can't get rid of Brandon